This play is Two Wives and a Dead Guy, published by Samuel French. Came out about, what, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. It's won quite a few awards out in Delaware, East Coast, I think did some in India, something like that. Cynthia is going to be reading the role of Eileen. She is a recently widowed high society woman who just found out that, well, there's a few irregularities in what she thought of her husband's life. And now she's addressing the corpse as he's laid out in the funeral home.
Yes, just after the funeral director has left, to have time alone grieving over the corpse. Mr. Hines is gone. Oh, you manipulative jerk. And what about them? Your children, your heirs, poor little Booby and his insecurity attacks, Becky and her rampant pyromania, always trying to burn down the local golf course. Why, Mr. Snodgrass is practically making a career representing her of late. Some shining example of fatherhood you turned out to be. Well, you never were around for them, were you? Or for me, for that matter. No, you were too far concerned with opening your brand new office in Switzerland. Switzerland! Having a dozen branches here in the States wasn't good enough for you, was it? No, you had to leave me with the children half the time, while you went gallivanting all about, being Mr. Big Shot Executive, as poor little Booby sucked his thumb and wet his pants, and Becky set putting greens and pro shops on fire. Couldn't be bothered to take me away with you. No. And now I have something stuck in my contact. Drat. My mascara's all smeared up. Well, thank you very much, jerk. Smacks the corp with her purse. Oh, no. Oh, now where did that worm of a man say he was going to be? Down the hall to the left? Okay.
And then shortly after this, the second wife shows up, and hilarity ensues, as they say.
Second wife?
Second wife.
Yes.
Well, second wife, second girlfriend, or second, you know. In any case, they don't know about each other. And they find out at the funeral. So that's Two Wives and a Dead Guy from Samuel French.
Awesome.
Woot!
Yes, no, basically, with that, I had written the story. The basic story was my idea, and that's why my name happens to be first on the program.
Awesome.
Yes, thank you. However, it wasn't where it needed to be publishable, and a lot of that was due to dialogue, and that's a very common thing to have problems with dialogue, and that's what Roy happens to be very good at. So he tightened up the dialogue, made it a bit more humorous, and gave just a lot more spice to it, a lot more flavor.
More of a storytelling type narrative to move it along. I guess that's why I usually get paid for when I do my script document stuff. I usually get called in front of dialogue.
Oh, sweet.
Do it that way. So
Take something that's kind of flat and one-dimensional, and he adds the proper words to really punch it up and get the point across.
I get to use my theater degree.
Absolutely.
And English degree.
Mm-hmm. What's wrong with it?
Okay, well, I can read our stories from here.
Okay.
I can do that. I think both these stories, I'm very proud of, both of them. I think they're very good. And both of, now, the first one I'll read. Why don't you go ahead and give us
The first one is a chapter in progress from a book called Oh Baby. It's a horror novel between myself and Rachel Saltzman, who is a filmmaker from New York. The basic premise is that there is a woman who's desperately trying to get pregnant, and her husband's kind of doing the mad scientist thing on the side, and well, you know, it deals with the Shoggoth later on, if you will, a few things. So you can imagine where it goes from there. They're Cthulhu-esque type thing.
I love Lovecraft.
Yeah, and as I said, this is an excerpt from the upcoming novel Old Baby. That was read by Cynthia Booth.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, right now, Allison is at the doctor's office because she feels like she's been having mental delusions. and so she's at the doctor's office trying to explain this. I know what I saw. Allison tromped back and forth on the vanilla ice creamed carpet. Arms crossed, hands firmly clamped beneath them. Dr. Marsh peered up at her over the top of his glasses. Wisely, he said nothing. I have never hallucinated in my life. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Not once. Stomp turned stomp. Too boring to do drugs. Even once, asked Dr. Marsh. Did you know that LSD can stay in the body for 20 years, causing a sudden flashback at any time? Not even in college, not even once. One hand crept from her side to sweep away a lock of hair and stayed twisting it. Could you have been slipped something at a party, maybe? Allison stopped pacing in front of the desk in order to glare. Why the damn drug obsession, Doc? I was, and still am, a bookworm with nearly no social life, it happens. Pushing up his glasses, Dr. Marsh glanced over her file again. I apologize, Mrs. Callahan. It's just so, well, odd. He flipped through her history. No one in your family has any psychosis, and even if you were the first, you're a bit, old to exhibit onset symptoms now. I'm too old to be a nut? Good to know. Thanks. Schizophrenics usually begin exhibiting symptoms in their teens, though there have been cases that have become as old as 45. So I could be insane. That's highly unlikely. Most of the truly insane don't think that they're insane. Dr. Marsh steepled his knotty fingers. I still stand by my initial diagnosis. That's just plain stress. Or insomnia. You're the one who keeps mentioning drugs. Allison stopped pulling her hair for a moment. The lady doth protest too much? He smiled. Something like that. Okay, yeah, I do think it has to do with spending too much of my life in teacher mode. She finally sat down. Seriously, though, never anything stronger than aspirin. Her voice evened out, but cords still stood on her neck, her complexion still flushed. How are you sleeping? Like a baby, up every 2 hours and cranky. Good, the doctor let out a breath. We can start there. Why do you sound so happy? Out of our remaining options, that's my favorite. Other options? Environmental poisoning or cancer could be the likely candidates. Allison started pacing again. Allison, he barked, shocking her to stop. Panic will not help. I want to get this sorted out before we put you on any fertility medication. Okay, Allison took a deep breath, then exhaled. Okay, what do you want me to do? Get some sleep. I can prescribe pills if you really need it, but I want you to try exercise first. Preferably something low impact, a lot of stretching. If that doesn't do it, try an over-the-counter sleep aid. He deftly buzzed for the nurse. Our local health club offers several yoga classes that could fit into your schedule. Maybe Pilates if you think you're up to it. The important thing is to find something you enjoy and stick with it. And then, when you get a clean bill of health, we can look into setting you up with a pregnancy cocktail. About how long do you think that'll take? Dr. Marsh groaned, rubbing his bald spot. As long as it takes, Mrs. Callahan, as long as it takes. He leaned over his desk, taking her by the hand. I can sympathize with your desire to move forward, but it's very important for both of you and the baby to be healthy. Can you wait for that? Allison let out a slow breath. It was always hard for her to argue with someone who was making perfect sense. Yeah, she forced herself to relax. I want this. Everything else I've ever wanted, I just keep working harder and harder until it happens. And now, the harder you try, the further your goal seems to be. Yeah. I want you to focus on the amazing willpower on getting yourself relaxed and healthy. It's just as hard to focus on reducing stress as any other goal, and it may help you to see it that way. Allison rose, and the nurse entered to escort her out. Thanks, Doc. I'll work on it. As she stepped out into the parking lot, Allison realized that she'd never mentioned the scratch on her arm where the yarn bit her.